So I think learning the tools and learning how to job search is key. I think it's not focusing so much on what's happening out there and worrying about, oh, it's going to be impossible, but it's really doing everything that we can in our capacity, reaching out to the right people to get support and learn those tools to be able to find employment. I think that's the most important thing that we should focus on.
Welcome back to Marketing Over Chai. We're continuing our conversation with Kathleen Leon. In the previous episode, we learned about her journey, what makes her the expert in job searching, and we learned some very important networking tips and just what we need to do to reframe our mindset to be in the right headspace for the job hunt. In this episode, we're going to talk more strategy and we're going to learn about some very practical tips for our resumes, our cover letters, and even how to prepare for the interview process. So if you're looking for a job, especially here in Canada, you really want to watch this. I'll leave a link to the first half of this conversation in the show notes. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Let's dive right in.
I want you to target companies that you really want to work for, that you believe in, and then spend the time in preparing that resume. With all the people that I've worked with, a lot of it is a lack of confidence. A lot of the times they wouldn't see that they had the skills. And this comes down to even with students, or they heard from other people that for some reason they're not going to get hired, so they don't apply. And so I feel that confidence boost is necessary.
You've opened my eyes to a whole set of things that I haven't been doing. And doing that is just going to give me more control of my results.
Time.
Absolutely. So you've already touched upon this a little, but is there anything you want to add on how students and immigrants can, get their foot in the door when they lack local experience or connections? And I think everything that you've said up until now just answers that question. Is there a line that you want to add?
Let's see. So there's always a lot to kind of think about. I would say even on your resume, on what you're kind of showing of your skills, there are different types of resumes. So many people are going to give you their version of what a resume should look like. My version is to really have a highlight section. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to have that section there where you can highlight your skills that referring back to the job posting. And so really quickly for a recruiter, they can just go through it and they just say, okay, this person has this years of experience. This person has this person has all of the stuff that I'm looking for. Let me read more. Right? Mm-hmm. So really quickly, they can see that in a few seconds. So you save them time rather than having a recruiter have to add up the years, have to figure out all that stuff. You right at the top, you just told them, hey, I have 7 years that you're looking for, or I have the experience that you're looking for. For students who don't have years of experience, what they're putting in is experience that is tailored to the role. And when I say experience, it doesn't have to be paid experience. It could just be experience that you have working on a project, experience that you have on anything that you've done. So that's the experience there. So I would say, if anything, the resume is that first step into getting the employer to see you. So we do need to work on that. And then after that, working on how you present yourself in the interview. And then, and your skills there. And so then that's where a person is a little more closer to getting or landing that role. So there's a lot of little elements to get to that point.
So let's dive into the resume bit. Any application tips there? Like, what are some common mistakes you see job seekers make?
So, a lot of the times people, they get tired, of course. They're applying for a lot of jobs. And so they just want to keep the resume the same way. So again, I'm going to kind of mention, if somebody were to apply for a job, let's say your dream job was to work at Google, and, that's your dream job. I truly don't believe that you're going to send the same resume that you sent some other companies to that company. I'm assuming that most likely you will work on the resume a little bit more. You'll probably tailor your cover letter because that company is your dream company or a place that you really want to work. That mindset. Why is it okay for that company to spend that time and your effort in making that? What does that say? That says that company is more important to you than others. So then why are you spending so much time applying for the other companies if they're not that important? So it's the strategy. If you're I want you to target companies that you really want to work for, that you believe in, and then spend the time in preparing that resume. Now, of course, I know some people just want to apply for a lot of random roles. That's fine. You may even get an interview, but at the end of the day, are you going to accept that role if you get the offer? Now, some people may say yes. They might be at a point in their life where they say, I just need a job. Okay. But then again, what's going to happen is you're going to be passively job searching while you take that job. So although, you're going to still be job searching, you're still going to be stressing yourself out. You're still going to be looking for that other thing. So I want people to really think about their skill, what they're doing, and kind of look at what their strategy is going to be. Maybe you could spend a little more time focusing on the goal, the eye on the prize, and then go for that. And anything that you do should not stop you from getting to where you want to go, or at least it should help you to get to where you want to go. Right? Everything is all about that little bit. So I just want you to, I still have a landline, by the way.
That's fantastic.
Anyways, yeah. So I just want everyone to have that eye on the prize and just kind of make sure that you're kind of, whatever decision you make, it's kind of going towards that direction. So your resume should be tailored, bottom line is what I'm saying, but little tweaks. And when I meet with students or people, I tell them what necessarily needs to kind of be tweaked a little bit so that they can target it for that. Yeah.
I love this. I've had like so many light bulb moments already. But diving into like the interview side of things, before I do that, do you need to take your call or something? Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's most likely,
Spam, right?
yeah.
Okay. 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 So before, like, on that note, just diving into the interview side of things. So we've spoken about like the resume and, things we need to do to get that on top. But like, what would be like your top 3 interview tips?
Okay, so well, with interviewing, there are the typical sort of that you would hear everyone say, and then there's the other ones that are more the holistic side of things. I would say, obviously do your research for the company so that you're going in knowing exactly um, what they're looking for. But I would say more importantly, understanding the job posting. Really understand what is it that they're looking for. It's just like anything in general. If anybody writes a post and they say, this is what I'm looking for, then you really need to understand it, kind of read between the lines if possible, get to know the company, see what they really mean. Are they really busy? Is it going to be a job that's going to be keeping you in the office for 60 hours? Like, what do you know about this role? So kind of do your research, but also look at the job posting and see if you can really understand it. If you don't, then use AI. Then it's open to interpretation. Go into AI and I wouldn't say the whole job posting, but I would put in, the tasks that are required of you, put it into AI and just ask AI based on this role, what would be expected of me in this role if I applied? Or kind of saying more, applying it, kind of asking, the prompt would be, if you were applying for this role, what skills are they requiring from me? What skills do I need to have to be able to excel in this position? And so you'll get something. It'll give you lots
Wow.
of verbs. Those key verbs will start to jot your memory. It'll start to remind you and say, okay, yeah, I can do this. I know how to do that. And so it's all of those things where you think, okay, so then this is what makes you, you can apply for these jobs and you're able to talk about it more because now you're using that vocabulary, those verbs in your interview. So the verbs are very important. I did that with one student. It was like a little paragraph of a job. And really quickly, what we did was we went into AI and said, what is your understanding of this job posting and what skills would be expected of me if I took on this role? And it as a whatever, and you say what your role is, marketing student, or as a this. And so it kind of broke it down, and it really opened our eyes and thinking, oh, okay, so I need to know more analytics. I need to know this. But if you do know it, then that's fantastic because now you can talk about it more because you know that's important to them. So those little things for interviewing. But I know I went off on a tangent with that, but really understanding the job posting, understanding the company, what they're looking for, what are their needs, what are their pain points,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can add value. You can see what you bring to the table, right? Maybe do your research, check not only their platforms, but check other social media platforms where they're a little more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
See how they give back to the community, what they're doing. You can see the way that they communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for anything, but for any whether it's your resume or interview, but every company has their own company culture, and every role or every department has their own language. IT has its language, accounting has its language, HR has its language. So what's important for your resume or interviewing is you need to learn that language. So how do you learn the language? You learn it by looking at tons of job postings in that field and
Mm-hmm.
start really, really looking at the job postings and start learning that language that is being used. And you use that language in the resume, and you use that language in your interviewing as well. Because now you have to show them that you belong there, that you know what they do, right? So that's also very important.
Perfect. I
Okay,
love
so
that.
those are a bunch of things.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to go dive into the cultural fit part. You mentioned like that's a big part of why people hire, and like that's one of the questions you most likely will ask them when they're hiring. Yeah, how can newcomers or anyone on the job search demonstrate that you are a good cultural fit?
So the cultural fit is it's a bit tricky because obviously you don't know exactly what they're looking for. Every manager, people who are looking in their department and they're looking to hire someone, they have an idea of what they're looking for. I think it's important for us not to think that we have to fit in specifically in that cultural fit. I think we just need to know, am I what they're looking for in terms of what their team needs? Because if I were a manager and I've seen my managers struggle to try to fill a role in our team. For example, I've had a team in the past where somebody leaves. And so then what ends up happening is the manager has to look for somebody. And the thing is, they know each member and they know our strengths, right? Our manager knows our strengths. So our manager knows what's needed. And so they need to bring in someone who's going to also work well with the team, work with everyone. So it's not so much of you being the right fit. You could be great in so many aspects, but now it's at the end of the day, it's the manager seeing what will fit for my team, what will work so that they will cohesively work together and work on this project and without any issues or so sometimes it's very hard to understand that perfect fit. All I can say is you have to be your very best. You be honest, understand again what they're looking for, and then you showcase not by lying and telling them what they need to hear, but by being authentic, and so that they can see, okay, this person has these skills and maybe I do need that. Maybe that's perfect, So you're not trying to fit into their mold, but you're just being you, and they're seeing whether it's in alignment or not. So it's very hard to say, when it's, trying to be that perfect fit. It's really the other person trying to look at
Mm-hmm.
you and see if you fit with their team or what they're looking for. Yeah.
That's fair. Are there any resources you recommend for job searching?
Yeah, well, I would say there's this website that it's a job search engine. Some people might be already familiar with it. It's Eluta,
Mm-hmm.
ELUTA.ca.
Mm-hmm.
On the top left corner, there is this button where it says top 100 employers.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on that, you're able to see all these employers that won the top employers for 2025. And then on the left side corner as well, you will see other employers, top young employers, top for young employers, top green employers, top
Yes.
greater Toronto area. And so it's fantastic that way. But the reports are great because the reports, they look like report cards. They actually gave them A, B's, and so you get to see or find out information about a company that's something that you may not even find out in a coffee chat, or something that you may not find out in the interview. So I would say that's a good website. For recent grads, Career Edge is a good website, but also for newcomers, Career Edge is also a good website. I think it's careeredge.ca. So that's one that you can do paid internships for, I think, about 6 months to a year. It's for anybody who's already graduated. That's one option. Or the other option is for somebody who's a newcomer who has a little bit of work experience abroad. So that's a good program. And then, as you know, the TRIAC mentoring program is a great program for international professionals. TRIAC is TRIEC. So the TRIAC program, Toronto Region Immigrant Employment Council. And that's a great mentoring program because everyone should try to search for a mentor, whether it's students. Students need to find mentors either through alumni or through their university channels, but international professionals can look at these mentoring programs, and these services will be helpful. And then, of course, Employment Ontario, which is a free Ontario program for employment, and they help you. You work with coaches. I worked in that program before, and they assist you with your resume, and it's all free. Now, if you are an international student, you may not qualify to register, but you can definitely attend all of their workshops.
Nice.
So that is something that I would recommend people to do for sure.
Nice. And those are all like so helpful. Like the TIRAC and the just going to Employment Ontario was so helpful for me. And the best part about like TIRAC is that you actually speak to people who are in the industry, and like you can debunk so many of your myths. And like you can also like get them to get a sounding board, because when you do start working, sometimes you realize that things are done slightly differently, and you have this one person who's working in the same field that you can use as a sounding board and be like, is this normal? And then they're like, yes or no or whatever. And that's so important, because it's these subtle things that you don't really know what's happening. Like it's harder to pick up on when you're new. It takes about a couple months to understand that. And each company has their own culture, but in general, Canada has a different culture from a different country, right? So it's a very helpful program. I would like highly recommend. I'm gonna leave links to everything that she mentioned in the show notes. If anyone's interested, you can like just go and click there. I'll also leave her LinkedIn profile. But before we go there, what's one piece of advice you'd give to both students and immigrants who are just starting their job search?
I would say, there's so much advice out there. A lot of people have heard the same things. So I don't want to repeat the same tips. So I'm going to say something a little bit different, more holistic. I would say if you're going to go in for an interview, I would say take some time a little bit before the interview to go for a walk. Don't think about the interview, like actually pull yourself away from whatever you were focusing on. And I want you to see the birds, count how many birds you saw, count how many cars are out there, whatever it is, just look at the trees, like take a minute and just look at other things and just get your mind off of that. So it's not enough for you to walk or while you're going to your interview, you're doing that. I just want you to take a step away from that and just do that. And so I think that's important. Breathing techniques, because you see, doing that is grounding. It's kind of bringing you back, right? And so in those breathing techniques is also telling your body, whether it's a virtual interview or in-person interview, breathing is just telling your body that you've got it. We're under control. We're good. There's no emergency. Nothing is happening that is chasing us. There's no danger, right? So you're just telling your mind, we've got this. We've practiced. We've gone over all our questions. We've thought about what we're going to say. And so in those cases, you're kind of going in a little bit with your mind is a little bit, I would say you're able to process the information a little bit better. You're not in that flight or fight kind of idea in your mind where they ask you a question and boom, you think you have to answer right away. You can actually take a few seconds to think and process and do that. And then that's when everything you practiced, everything you read will come out in your interview. And I want you to be you. Don't put the pressure on yourself. Just be you. And hopefully the employer will see the value that you bring, who you are. And if they feel that you're the right fit for the role, then they will hire you. Just a quick analogy. I've said this before to other students. I just thought maybe I might mention it. It's kind of a little bit out of the norm, but think of it as a director and think of the employer as the director, and you are auditioning for a role in a movie. Okay, think of it that way. So let's say those very big movie stars, let's say Timothy Chalamet. Okay, he goes for an interview. People know that he's a good actor. Okay, we know that he's a good actor. And so he goes for an interview, but maybe Steven Spielberg decides not to take him for the role, but chooses another actor. It doesn't mean that Timothy's going to walk away and not do any other movies or think that he's not good enough. It's just the director had a whole idea in his mind of how he wanted the movie to be, and he didn't feel that Timothy was the right fit for that role. I want people to see it that way. Don't take it too personally, because you need to keep going to these roles and you need to just keep applying and just understanding it that way. Those are just a few little things that are a little bit outside the box.
Yeah, but then they're deep, right? Like they really make you think. I remember like whenever I had like a very stressful exam, the night before I would just stop because you can really like prepare so much. Stop and go watch a movie. Like
Yeah, do
that's
something else. Get your mind
that's
off of
yeah.
it. Just do something else. But anything that you could do to ground yourself,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you could tell your body, the breathing technique is, it's something that does help your body, your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
and it just calms you a little bit. And then some people say the power pose, putting your two arms here on your, and just doing the power pose for 2 minutes
What's the
before
power
the
pose?
interview. So the power pose is sort of, you put your two hands on your arms. So it's like the Wonder Woman pose or the Superman pose where you're standing up. Sometimes they say that some doctors do that before surgery. It's something within your body, cortisol levels and so on, that just calms you and just makes you feel that you can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I want people to feel before an interview, that you can do it, that
I love
you
this.
are, that you're the right person for that. So yeah.
I love this. I am gonna try it, not just for an interview. Like I think I'm gonna do that like
Yeah.
once a
Oh,
day.
yes, definitely. They say that. Yeah.
It's
If you can do
empowering.
that when you're brushing your teeth or you're doing something just standing like that, it's one of those poses where, I mean, there's so many things for interviews as well. It's your pose, the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you talk to people. All of that is very important. The way you present yourself in an interview, your body language, that's all important as well.
Perfect. That this has been so great, Kathleen. I've like learned so much. I've had like so many light bulb moments. Thank you so much for being here. You've definitely helped me, and I'm sure you've going to help like a lot of other people whoever tunes in. And as you've already helped so many people along the way in your career, before I let you go, I want to ask you, just take a couple minutes to promote yourself and what you do and things you love.
Well, at the moment, as you know, I'm working at U of T. So my target right now is working with students and assisting them and getting them ready for the workforce. But on the side, I've noticed that there are a lot of people who do reach out to me that need a little more assistance. And I feel that some of the assistance is similar to what I was telling you, which is a lot about confidence, but also the way that they communicate. So I've noticed that with newcomers, sometimes they feel that they don't have, that their language skills they don't feel confident enough with their language skills. Or sometimes they feel that their pronunciation, that maybe they're not saying the right words or they're saying the right thing. So this may be for people who maybe, their English level is not very high. So I would like to be able to start supporting. I'm thinking of being able to see if there's a way that I can kind of combine my ESL with career services, where I am going to start sort of not consulting, but providing services where I can assist those who need to build on how they present their ideas, whether it's in an interview or in a job as career development. Sometimes people have a job, but they feel that they can't move up to another level or move up into management because of their soft skills or because of their communication skills, or they just don't feel confident enough. So those types of things, as well as maybe being prepared for an interview and how to sell your skills and how to talk about your skills. So, I will be thinking about that and seeing how I can do that, but I'm open to definitely connecting with people. And at a later time, I'll let you know if I do start something
Yes,
like this. But yes, that's something
yes.
that I was thinking about.
I think you will help a lot of people when you do. until then, maybe I can put your LinkedIn in the show notes if you're comfortable
Yes.
with that, and you feel free to reach out to Kathleen with a nice specific
Yes.
note, and yeah, and keep the conversation going. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. You've energized me. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, this
I'm happy. I'm happy
I'm
that I was
gonna have
able
to.
to do that.
Yeah, you're fantastic. Like, I highly recommend anyone who's looking for, that kind of coaching. I'd recommend going to her. She's fantastic. She's just fantastic. Thank you so much for, taking the time to do this with me. You've given me so many things to think about, and I'm gonna like sit and brain dump after this and just because I could, like, light bulbs went off. I know like a few things that I wasn't doing well enough that I have to start and change my job status. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. It's just weird to be excited about a job search.
And just one little thing that I wanted to add to the interview part
Mhm.
is you should be sharing stories, right? You should be sharing your story. So I want people to start thinking about that job posting and what are the competencies that they require from that job. Right. And then start having your stories, start creating them in your mind of trying to remember the stories for that competency. I would usually say, think of 10 competencies
Mhm.
and then think of 3 stories per competency. So you have them in your mind fresh because
Mhm.
we all have them. They're just not fresh in our mind. So then when you go in for an interview, then you're able to talk about those competencies in your stories as you're talking because you'll listen to the question and then you'll hear that they're asking you about problem solving. And so then you think about your story that you had for problem solving and then you're able to talk about it. So that's another last little minute tip that I wanted to share with you guys about just being prepared for your interviews as well. So, yes,
Absolutely
thank you,
love it.
Kate, for inviting me for
Yeah.
this
Thank
podcast.
thank you so much. It's been great.